Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to my channel, The Daily DIYer. Many of you actually sent me messages or left me comments requesting some St. Patrick's Day DIYs. And I really haven't done too many of them. I actually did some a long time ago, and I will put a playlist down below if you want to go back and watch some early days of The Daily DIYer. Be gentle, they're kind of embarrassing videos, I'm not gonna lie. It's from when I very first started, so you can see the evolving of this channel to what it is today. But I will put that down below if you want to go back and watch some of the older St. Patrick's Day DIYs. So I want to make sure that I gave you guys what you were wanting, and that was some St. Patrick's Day quick and easy DIYs. These are going to be more on the classy side though. I think you can really do some fun crafts with St. Patrick's Day too, and I definitely will with my kiddos. We always make a leprechaun trap every single year. It's so fun to do. But today's video, I'm going to show you how you can bring your home into a St. Patrick's Day vibe in a really classy and simple way.
Let's start by bringing back one of these original ideas from the past. I think it's a good one because it's simple and it's also very affordable. I'm starting with some cylinder vases and candles from Dollar Tree and a pack of these green split peas that you can find at Walmart for under $1. And basically we're going to use those peas as a vase filler. So you can put these at the bottom of a cylinder vase like I'm showing you here, and then just top it with a couple pillar candles that you can find at Dollar Tree. And it is so quick and easy, but it adds that little hint of green to kind of give you that St. Patrick's Day vibe. Let me know down in the comments below if you have Irish heritage in your family. I'm not quite sure what ours is, but I definitely have a red head for a son, which I love. It is so cute. So there must be some that has been passed down the way. Needless to say, we love St. Patrick's Day and enjoy decorating for it and celebrating it. And like I said, creating those leprechaun traps each year. This is another great way to kind of add a subtle touch of Irish decor to your home. I'm starting with a Dollar Tree Shadow Box, which I love these. And the reason I love them is because even though they have lettering or words on the front, I'm going to show you how you can remove that. So you can turn these into any design or for any holiday or whatever matches your home's decor. So basically, when you take the glass out of the frame, you want to add a little bit of water, or I added some of my Mrs. Meyer's that I had on hand, and basically it's just paint. So if you add that liquid to the back where the paint is, you can take a razor blade and very carefully scratch off the paint so then you have a blank piece of glass. Now I'm going to be using a piece of felt. Ignore my pencil and piece of paper. I had the idea to create a template so that all of my shamrocks would be the same, but unfortunately it just didn't work out that way. It was just much easier for me to go ahead and freehand each one of the shamrocks. Actually ended up just layering a few or just two pieces together and cutting 2 shamrocks out at a time. And I maybe made about six or eight of these little shamrocks out of this lighter green. But then I also added 1 4-leaf clover out of a grass green colored felt. That way I kind of had that little bit of luck in my shadow box. I took a silver marker and wrote Lucky right on the front of the glass after I reassembled it. The marker that I'm using is actually a chalk marker, and I will link the ones that I love down in the description box below. I think this would be really pretty too if you used a gold marker to kind of get that gold coin look that is so popular with St. Patrick's Day too. sometimes the most beautiful decor can also be the most simple. So I have a frame and a book from Dollar Tree. I'm going to be using my watercolor brush pens for this. I will also link these down in the description box below. I love playing with these. So basically this set of watercolor brushes comes with a water pen too. So I covered the area where I wanted to put my shamrock with the water, and then used my markers to create 3 hearts to get that shamrock look. Added a little stem at the bottom, and then took a hairdryer to it to kind of help quickly dry this little piece of artwork, and then framed it in my Dollar Tree picture frame. I'm actually really new to watercolors, and I really haven't gotten a chance to play around with it too much, but what I have, it has been so much fun, and as you can see, it's really simple too. So if you've never tried it before, I would recommend. You of course can use the traditional watercolor paint, or like I showed you here, use the pens, and you kind of get different effects with each. So just have fun, play around with it. It's always fun to try something new. I absolutely love the way this turned out. It is so pretty, and I may even take this idea and concept and create one for spring and for Easter too. Now for a super quick and easy centerpiece idea. I couldn't believe when I found these beautiful trays at Dollar Tree. So that's going to be the start of the centerpiece. I also had some of these moss stones, or rocks is I think what they call them. So I had some more of my green split peas that I put in the bottom of the tray, and then added some white pillar candles. I always have white pillar candles on hand. These are a staple. They are great to add to lanterns and centerpieces and mantles, and just as fillers here and there. So I always keep several of these on hand. So they came in perfect for this little centerpiece. I'm just kind of arranging the moss rocks around the center, and then added it to a silver tray in the middle of my table. And you really get just that little pop of green, which reminds me of spring as well as St. Patrick's Day. So you can definitely do St. Patrick's Day without all of the shamrocks. This is a fun wreath idea that I am starting out with a garden fence piece, wreath, and moss, all from the Dollar Tree. So you can see this is a very inexpensive project. I'm starting by cutting up my fence piece. I cut all of the pieces off of the sides and cut the feet off first, and then started designing my wreaths. You kind of get to watch me as I go through the process of figuring out what parts I wanted in the center of the wreath. So I decided I wanted 4 of these little points to kind of meet in the middle with the scrolls off to the side. So I needed to cut out 4 of those pieces total and cut down the opposite end so they would not stick out from the outside of the wreath. To connect these pieces together, I laid down this green mat, and I will link this down in the description box below. It helps protect your surface from the hot glue that we're going to be adding to the back side. So you want to flip all of these pieces over and add hot glue at all of the points where they touch. So now I let this sit for quite a while so that that glue could harden and set up. So while I let that sit, I came back to my wreath and use my hot glue to add little patches of moss here and there. I didn't want to cover the entire wreath with moss, and a good tip here is to add your moss into the hot glue, kind of let your hot glue set up, and then peel off and kind of shake off any extra, and then you won't have so much shedding happening with your moss once your project is finished. Now we need to cut down the pieces that are sticking out from the sides of the wreath. So I set everything up right side up and took a pencil to mark where I needed to cut those fence pieces down. I'm using my miter shears for this, and I'll link these down below as well. They come in really handy for cutting things like this that's soft plastic, or even wood for dowel rods and popsicle sticks. Now what I'm doing is adding some hot glue to the points of the garden fence pieces, and then adding my wreath on top to make sure it all becomes one piece. Now I had to get a little bit creative here, so I have this wooden wreath from Dollar Tree. I ended up cutting out one of the shamrocks to use as a template, and then used a sheet of moss that's also from Dollar Tree. I traced that wooden template onto the back of the moss, and then cut out my shamrock shape. Then I just use my hot glue to attach the shamrock to the center of the wreath. I really love the way this wreath looks without the shamrock too, so let me know down in the comments, would you do with or without the shamrock in the middle of this wreath? I love this neutral Shamrock Garland. You definitely don't have to use green in your St. Patrick's Day decor. This is a fun neutral way to do it. And if you can remember back to our last project with this wreath, I actually am using some wooden beads and cutting apart this wreath even more so I can utilize more of the shamrocks from it. Again, I'm using my miter shears to cut these apart. Again, I'll link those down in the description box. They cut everything so easily. Then I went ahead and sanded all of the rough edges that I had just cut. And this is how I'm actually cutting holes in the tops of these shamrocks. I had a nail punch and a scrap piece of wood that had holes in it, and I just hammered right through. So if you don't have a drill, this is another option that's really, really simple to do. If I can find the nail punches that I'm using, I'll also link these down in the description box. Now you can go ahead and paint your shamrocks. So of course you can do green if you prefer. I decided to do mine brown so they had more of a neutral look, and then I would have pops of green in other places, like with my greenery and the other decor that I've made. Now we're going to create our garland with some jute from Dollar Tree and also some wooden beads. These come in a big set of different sizes, which I really like when it comes to these garlands. I got this from Amazon, and I'll link these down below too. I actually really like to get a lot of my craft supplies from Amazon, so make sure to check the description box where most of the links will be for Amazon. And what I'm doing here is just kind of creating a pattern with the different sizes of beads, and I also decided to create sort of a space where I was going to later add on those wood shamrocks. So I sort of defined those with some larger wood beads, and then came back and added those shamrocks separately. And here's my finished garland. You can see where those larger beads are. That's where I'm going to be adding my wooden shamrocks. And I had 4 shamrocks, so I made mine long enough to hold 4. Now what I'm doing is putting some jute through the holes of the shamrocks that we created earlier, and tying a knot at the top, and then tying that straight into the middle of where those larger beads were. ideas that I have for you of how you can display this is hung in a hutch like I'm showing you here. You can put them on the front of a mantle, on a table in an entryway, even hung from a large picture frame, or laid flat like I'm showing you here on a coffee table on a tray. I love the idea of having the Irish blessing as part of our St. Patrick's Day decor too, so I found this beautiful free printable. It's from the blog I Watch Them Grow, and I'll make sure to put a link down in the description box, so if you also download this, make sure to thank her for this gorgeous freebie. And what I did is I found this 5x7 canvas at Dollar Tree and decided to Mod Podge the Irish blessing onto the front. So I printed mine to fit that 5x7 size and then traced around and cut it to where it would fit perfectly on my canvas. I also wanted mine to have a textured look, so I actually took it and just crinkled it all up and then relaid it out flat and Mod Podged it with matte Mod Podge. I took my foam paintbrush and quite a bit of Mod Podge onto the front of the canvas, laid my paper on top, and added even more Mod Podge on top of that to seal it in. Make sure to let your piece sit for at least 30 minutes to an hour so your Mod Podge can dry all of the way. Then to rough up the edges a little bit more, I took some brown acrylic paint and ran it all the way around the edges, along with a little bit on the front at the edges too, so it all really tied itself together and made for one beautiful end result. I also had some grapevine hearts left over from Valentine's Day. If you have hearts, you can put them together to make shamrocks. So kind of go through your old Valentine's Day decor and see what you can find. I also have a wood box, moss, and a dowel rod from Dollar Tree. I went ahead and added the moss with some hot glue onto those grapevine hearts. Now we're going to add hot glue to the sides of those hearts to piece them together to make that shamrock shape. Then we're going to let that sit and dry and move over to our wood box so we can prep that for our topiary. So what I did is I had a styrofoam ball from Dollar Tree. I hot glued that into the bottom and used this green, it's called Excelsior, I believe, from Dollar Tree. It's a little bit different than the moss, and I thought it would give it a green look, but also not the same as the moss. Now you can flip over your grapevine shamrock, add your dowel rod to the back with some hot glue, let that set up really good so it will take hold and harden, and then we're going to cut down the dowel rod so it's not super high once you place it into your wood box. And at this point I realized that I did not like the natural wood color of the dowel rod, so I took some green acrylic paint and added that to kind of unify the look. And you won't believe what this beautiful St. Patrick's Day pillow is made from. It's actually a t-shirt from Dollar Tree. I found this gorgeous olive green t-shirt and thought it would be perfect for my decor for St. Patrick's Day. I like the more subtle green, so this worked perfect. I just flipped my t-shirt inside out and laid it flat on a self-healing cutting mat and used my rotary tool and straight edge to cut a square. And as you'll see, I'm actually cutting two at the same time. So I'm actually getting the front side and the back side of this pillow by cutting it all at once. Now let's talk about the design for the front of this pillow. I'm actually using a contact paper stencil for this. I have a full tutorial on how to create these contact paper stencils, and I'll link that video down in the description box. I used my Silhouette Cameo to cut this out, and I actually did not make this design. I purchased it from the Silhouette Design Studio, but it would be really easy if you just want to freehand with some fabric paint a shamrock shape onto the front. With these stencils, you actually have to peel them off from the paper backing and lay them. It takes a little bit of time, so just go slow and make sure you get your design on there flat and evenly. And you'll actually have to add your lucky part separately onto here. Again, just go slow. This is just the best way to do it when you're working with fabric, as vinyl doesn't quite work with this type of material. So once I had my design onto the front of the fabric, I used some white fabric paint and a foam paintbrush and just went lightly on the first coat and came back and did a second coat, dabbing up and down with the paint to make sure it wouldn't bleed underneath. I did go ahead and peel my stencil off while the paint was wet. I was afraid that the fabric paint might make the stencil kind of adhere to the fabric, and I was kind of worried it would ruin it. So I just went ahead and peeled off the stencil very carefully while that paint was still wet. You do want to make sure your paint dries before you move on to this next step of putting our pillow together. I'm using my fabric hot glue. If you've never heard of this before, it's actually pretty life-changing. I do sew, but I don't enjoy it. So anytime I can pull these hot glue sticks out, then I definitely do, and they work great for projects like this. We're just making a quick pillow, and I'm running the hot glue down the sides and along the top and partially along the bottom, leaving a hole open so I can flip the pillow right side out and then start stuffing it. I will make sure to link these hot glue sticks down in the description box below too, because you can find them on Amazon as well. Once the pillow was good and stuffed, you can go ahead and again take your hot glue and close up that small hole we left at the bottom. Next is a very quick way to add a touch of St. Patrick's Day to decor maybe you already have up in your home. So I have a moss sheet, a pack of foam shamrocks, and a galvanized bucket, along with a dowel rod from Dollar Tree, and the plant is from IKEA. I've had these for years. I use them all the time in my decor. So what I'm doing is taking the foam shamrock, putting hot glue on it, and placing it right down on the back side of that moss sheet, and then taking my scissors and cutting the shamrock shape out. These sheets are a little bit thin and you can kind of see through them, so this foam helps it kind of have its own presence and be a little bit darker. So when we add it to greenery like I'm showing you here, it still stands out. So now what I'm doing is adding a dowel rod to the back of the moss and then just poking it right down into my faux plant. I love all of these ideas because they're all quick, easy, and simple, but let me know which one is your favorite down in the comment section below. If these ideas inspired you, hit that thumbs up button, and also I'll have more inspiration and DIYs popping up on your screen that you can check out next. Also, don't forget to check the description box below with links to all the products and the videos that I mentioned throughout this tutorial. Thanks so much for watching today, and I will see you in the next one. Happy crafting!